Jen here in my kitchen. I'm from the local community food center, and for the next 8 weeks you're going to see me here in my kitchen, and I'm going to be showing you some really simple healthy meals. Today we're working on fish. Everybody thinks fish is kind of a daunting thing to cook, but I'm going to show you it can be really, really simple, and all you need to look for is to not overcook it and to make sure it's still delicious, juicy, and cooked through. So what I'm going to do first is get my oven heated up to 450 degrees. I have a baking sheet here that's lined with parchment paper, just so that it makes clean up quicker. But if you don't have parchment paper, that's okay too. But a baking sheet is necessary. I've got a cutting board and a knife. I've decided to do broccoli. We're going to do broccoli with our salmon because it's very low carb and it's high in high in nutrients and fiber, and it's really, really delicious as it's roasted. So I've got my broccoli florets here. It's already cut up, but I just wanted to show you not to waste the stems. So a lot of people will just cut off the tops of the broccoli and the stems go to waste, but I'll show you that the stems are just as delicious. So this was from kind of towards the top, and I just cut those up in spears that are about the same size as the bottoms of your broccoli. So you want everything to kind of cook relatively like at the same rate. So I cut off this dried out kind of woody bit that will go in the compost, and then some of the skin around the outside of the stalk is a little bit tough, so you can cut that off or peel it off, and the inside is super tender and it's delicious. You can reserve this if this seems like too much vegetables for one meal. Then you can save the stalks for a later use. And I'm just going to cut these into spears and throwing them into my bowl. Okay, I have my bowl of broccoli here, and what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of lemon zest on it, from about half the lemon, because the other half of the lemon zest we'll use in our salad to go with our salmon. And it's like a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, some pepper, but salt and pepper to your taste. Just a good tablespoon or 2 of olive oil. And I'm just going to do maybe a clove of garlic. So here's 1 clove of garlic. I'm going to chop it up real fine, also called mincing. We're going to toss that together and then throw it on the baking sheet, and then we'll pop that into the oven while we get our salmon ready. So the broccoli takes just a little bit longer to cook, and it's okay if it gets not mushy, but it's going to get some nice crispy edges. And then we'll put our salmon in with the broccoli for the last 15 minutes. And I'm going to cut this lemon in half and do about half lemon's worth of juice. Get the seeds out of there, and this gets mixed together. And lemon goes really, really nicely with just about every fish, I think. Same with garlic. So like a lemony side is really nice to have with fish. Okay, that's all mixed up. And you want to spread out your vegetables pretty well so they're one thin layer so that they get cooked evenly. I'll spread them all out. And they're gonna roast really nicely. If they're too close together, overlapping or creating a couple of layers, then they're just going to steam. But that's not the effect that we want to have on our broccoli. We want to roast them and get the edges nice and browned and maybe a little bit crispy. So we'll put these in the oven. Set a timer for 10 minutes. So I'm going to reserve this bowl that had the lemon juice, salt, pepper, olive oil, and the broccoli and garlic in here because we'll just put our salad ingredients right into that bowl. And maybe before we get our fish, let's just quickly chop up some vegetables and throw them into the bowl and make a salad. So I've got cucumber here. I'm just going to give them a rough chop. This is just going to be like a nice chunky salad, just for some freshness on the side of our fish dish. If you had some parsley laying around or any kind of fresh herbs, that would be a nice way to use them in a salad. I've got a red pepper and I have just some cherry tomatoes. Just a very simple salad. If you have some salad greens around, that goes well. Of course, this is just going to be a nice chunky, almost like a Greek salad, but without the feta and olives. Your tomatoes you can put in whole or just slice them in half. And I'm going to put a little bit of lemon zest on the salad. So this is called a microplane. It will take the zest off, but you can use, if you have just a box grater, use the small side of the box grater just to get a little bit of the zest. You don't need to put the zest in either, but I just like that little extra lemony flavor. I find the zest is the most flavorful part of the lemon. And the juice, half a lemon. Do some more salt and pepper and a little bit more olive oil to taste. And that's your salad all ready to go. So now we can set aside our vegetables and start preparing our salmon, which really doesn't take much. So I've gotten these fillets that you can find in the frozen section of your grocery store. And these are really nice because they're individually packaged. So for people who are cooking for themselves, you only need to take one out. You can take it out the night before you want to use it, set it in your fridge to thaw, or you can thaw it in cold water in a bowl, and it takes about half an hour to an hour to thaw in cold water because you want to do it safely, and you don't want to start cooking your salmon or fish in hot water. So I'm just going to cut open the package, grab some paper towels, dry it off really well. I'm going to set this down onto the paper towel. These are full of liquid. I've got two. And on your baking sheet, you can probably fit up to 6 or 8 fillets of salmon. So you could prepare a bunch and you've already got it. They freeze well again after you've cooked them. So if that's one way of doing it, and then you've got your meals prepared for a couple of days. Pat these dry. These get very wet after they've been frozen. So dry them really well, and you might get a nice crispy skin, which is what I enjoy. If you don't like eating the skin, then you just take it off after cooking. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? One of these fillets is a little bit, like quite a bit thicker than the other one. So this one's obviously not going to take as much time to cook. So I think I'm going to put this one in for a couple minutes before. Hopefully your fillets, you can find some that are the same thickness, or you just like leave one in a little bit longer. But I think right now, since I can get it in, I can show you what I'm going to do. Ooh, the broccoli is looking so good. I'm gonna give them a flip. So they're gonna be getting nice and browned on the bottom side. We can flip them over. And you can either put the salmon right on top of the broccoli, or I'm going to move it over to one side because they're not taking up a whole lot of space and they won't get too crowded if I move them over, since I only have 2 pieces of fish. And now my pan is nice and hot. I'm going to season the fish just with some salt and pepper on both sides. So one hand touches the fish and the other hand is for your seasoning. Don't mix them up because you don't want to contaminate your salt bowl if that's how you use your salt. If you've got it in a shaker, then I guess that makes things a whole lot easier. And I'm going to do this skin side up because I kind of want that skin to get a little bit crispy. And if it's not crispy when it's done, I'm going to put the broiler on it and crisp it up a little bit more. So that fillet should take about 15 minutes, and once it's done, we'll show you the finished product. Okay, the fish has been in for 10 minutes, so I'm gonna pull it out and see how we're doing. We could crisp up the skin a little bit more, but I think I'll leave it since our broccoli definitely looks like it's done. That looks really nice and toasty. And just to give our fish a little test, you want to just stick a fork in there, and as long as the flesh flakes, that looks good. This might even be a little bit overdone, but I wanted to get the skin crispy and it didn't. Anyway, it still looks pretty good. Just gonna plate this up. And that's your super healthy, easy 20-minute meal. See you next week.